Good morning, everyone. A good tavach, Shavua Tov. After a long hiatus from the holidays, Sukkot, Simchas Torah, we'll begin once again our daily learning here. And as we know, at this time of the year, one of the most important things on the mind of each and every one of us is how are we going to hold on to the inspiration and the elevation and the excitement of the Yom Noraim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, the dancing of Simchas Torah. We all feel so clean and so uplifted. How do we hold on to it? And of course, one of the greatest ways to do that is learning Torah. And one of the portions of Torah which will continue to strengthen our mind and our hearts and our soul to do what is right in the eyes of Hashem is by learning Musar together. And that's the Orchis Yosher, which we continue with from Chaim Kanievsky. And we are holding in a chapter which is extremely apropos to holding on to the elevation of the Yom Noraim, and that is Yiras Chet, the fear of sin. For if we will be aware on a daily basis of the pitfalls of sin that are all around us, then we'll guard ourselves, we'll control ourselves, we will be able to weather the storms of the temptations and the desires and the peer pressure and everything that's out there, distractions of this world, everything that we come in contact with that tries to pull us into sin. We'll be strong enough to remove ourselves with this yiras chet, this fear that we have. We don't want to stumble into sin. So to continue, in the words of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, he's quoting different words of Chazal, and the sages say in the Gemara in Ksuvis, Omru sheRebbi minas Rabban Gamliel b'nai nasi. When Rebbe was on his passing away, he designated and appointed his son, Rabban Gamliel, to be the prince, to be the next leader of the Jewish people. Says the Gemara, even though Rabban Gamliel might not have been the wisest of all the sages, he wasn't the biggest Talmud Chacham, the greatest Torah scholar. Nevertheless, when it came to his fear of sin, in that regard, he was on the same level as his forefathers. And that's what qualified him to be the next leader of the Jewish people. So what do we see? Yiras chet, the fear of sin, someone that's going to guard themselves, that supersedes the levels of chachma, of wisdom that they have. Because you can have all the wisdom in the world, but if you don't have the proper amount of yiras chet, you won't use the wisdom properly. On the other hand, even if you might not have reached the tutelage and the wisdom of your ancestors, your forefathers, and so on and so forth, but your yiras chet will drive you to do the right things. If you don't know the answer, you'll ask somebody else. Even if it's a hard psak, a hard decision for you to hear and to absorb, nevertheless, since that you have fear of doing sin, you will certainly keep it and you will enforce it to the masses of Klal Yisrael as well. Ubesoif Saita, at the end of Tractate Saita, it says, Mishemes Rebbe, when Rebbe died, Batla Anova V'yiras chet. So in the world at that time, when the great Rebbe passed away, so it nullified humility and there was a nullification of yiras chet. These two components, being humble and having fear of sin, they left the world. Rebbe was the quintessential example of somebody who was humble, and he was also the quintessential example of someone who had fear of sin. And it seems to be that the Gemara is telling us these two things go hand in hand. Someone who is humble will recognize the pitfalls of sin. Someone who humbles himself before HaKadosh Baruch Hu will always have in mind, he wants to make sure that he doesn't stumble into a world of sinful behavior. On the other hand, someone that is haughty, someone who's full of himself, someone that is conceited, he doesn't care about if he does sin, if he doesn't do sin. He thinks that he's always right. And he thinks maybe sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu is too demanding on him. And therefore he's entitled to do what he wants to do. But Rebbe was an example of someone who was graced with humility And the humility also was a component which brought him into the world of Yiras Chet, the fear of sin. And this is the beginning as we get our feet wet once again in the Sefer Orchos Yoshem, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, our leading Talmud Chacham, one of the leading Torah scholars of our generation. And if we'll follow the words and we will engage ourselves in the daily study of Musar and we'll work on inculcating these messages into our lives, then in that way, Be'ez Hashem, we'll be able to keep the momentum of the Yomim Neroyim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. We'll be able to keep them alive every single day. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.